Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs when Emma started referring to me as her sister from another tax bracket. But when you've spent 15 years sacrificing everything for someone, you develop a blind spot the size of Texas. My name is Sarah, and I'm the daughter who stayed. When Dad walked out and Mom fell apart, I was 17 with a college acceptance letter to Northwestern and dreams of becoming an architect. Emma was 12, all braces and anxiety, crying herself to sleep every night. So I did what eldest daughters do. I put my dreams in a drawer and got 2 jobs at local diners, smell of grease permanently embedded in my hair, tips counted in wrinkled dollar bills that went straight to keeping our lights on. The acceptance letter yellowed over the years, tucked behind my expired passport. Every semester I'd watch Emma head off to university, the same one I'd turned down, wearing new clothes I'd bought her, textbooks I'd paid for, meal plans I'd financed working night shifts at the Amazon warehouse. She'd come home talking about study abroad programs and internships, while I calculated if I could afford both her sorority dues and Mom's blood pressure medication that month. "You're the best sister anyone could ask for," Emma would say, usually right before asking for something else. And I'd give it, every single time. Her student loans? I co-signed. Her apartment deposit? My savings account. Her unpaid internships in Manhattan? I covered rent while she built her network. The transformation happened slowly, like watching someone drift away on a tide. First came the Instagram account, Emma Living Golden, where our cramped childhood home never appeared, where her captions mentioned humble beginnings without ever showing them. Then came the boutique PR job, the kind where they care more about your aesthetic than your abilities. She learned to pronounce Hermes correctly and started shopping at Whole Foods, even though the Kroger was closer and cheaper. But the real change came with Marcus Chen, CEO of a sustainable fashion startup, Tesla driver, owner of a downtown loft with exposed brick and a coffee table that cost more than my car. Emma met him at some rooftop networking event, the kind I'd never be invited to with my Target blazer and community college part-time status. Within 3 months, she'd moved into his world completely, speaking in buzzwords about synergy and brand alignment. "Sarah, you need to understand," she told me over lunch at a place that charged $18 for avocado toast. "Marcus's family is very particular. They value certain things. Education, presentation, sophistication." I stirred my overpriced latte, remembering how I'd taught her to ride a bike, held her hair during stomach flus, stayed up making flashcards for her SATs. I understand perfectly. She didn't catch the edge in my voice, or maybe she did and chose to ignore it. Good, because when we get engaged, and we will, I want everything to be perfect, magazine-worthy perfect. That night, I looked at my hands under my apartment's harsh fluorescent lights. Dishpan hands, Mom used to call them. Nails kept short for practical work. A small scar from when I'd burned myself making Emma's 13th birthday cake because we couldn't afford a bakery. These weren't Instagram hands. They were working hands, sacrifice hands, love-made visible hands. 6 months later, Marcus proposed with a ring that sparkled like captured starlight, and Emma's squeal could probably be heard from space. She FaceTimed me from the restaurant, Michelin-starred naturally, and I watched her flutter her fingers, the diamond catching light like a tiny sun. You'll be my maid of honor, obviously," she said, but there was something in her tone, like someone checking off an obligation. "We're thinking next spring, Magnolia Gardens, 200 guests, very elegant, very curated." Curated. Like her life had become an exhibition, and everyone in it was either art or audience. The wedding planning started immediately. Emma created a shared Pinterest board called Emma's Ethereal Spring Dream, filled with images of willowy models in sage green dresses, tables groaning under peonies and roses, everything bathed in golden hour light. She hired a wedding planner named Astrid who wore architectural jewelry and referred to the wedding as the production. "The aesthetic is crucial," Astrid explained during our first meeting, her eyes scanning me like I was a problem to solve. "Every element must be cohesive. Every person in the wedding party becomes part of the visual narrative." Emma nodded eagerly while I wondered when weddings stopped being about love and started being about looking good on social media. Then came the bridesmaid dress selection. Emma had chosen a designer whose dresses started at $800 in a shade of green that the website called Morning Meadow, but looked like money to me. "I know it's a bit pricey," Emma said, not meeting my eyes, "but it's important that everyone matches perfectly. The photos will last forever." I thought about my bank account, already strained from helping Mom with her medical bills, and nodded. "Of course, whatever you need." The fittings were held at a boutique in the fancy part of town, where they served champagne in crystal flutes, and the saleswomen wore shoes that cost more than my rent. The other bridesmaids, Emma's new friends from Marcus's world, chatted about their Pilates instructors and upcoming trips to Tulum while I stood on the platform, letting them pin and tuck fabric that felt too expensive to breathe in. "Sarah, sweetie," one of them, Brittany or Bethany, said with fake concern, "have you thought about extensions for the photos? I know someone amazing, only $300 a session." Emma jumped in quickly. "That's a great idea. We want everyone to look their absolute best." I caught my reflection in the three-way mirror. Same brown hair I'd been cutting myself since high school. Same face that looked tired even with concealer. Same me who'd always been enough until suddenly I wasn't. "She should probably start a skincare routine too," another bridesmaid added. "The photographer Marcus hired is known for really bright, honest lighting, shows everything." Emma laughed, a tinkling sound that didn't reach her eyes. "Don't worry, we have 6 months. Plenty of time for improvements." I stood there, pins pricking through the fabric, watching my sister discuss me like I was a renovation project. The girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms now looked at me like I was a problem to be solved before her perfect day. The phone call came on a Tuesday evening. I was heating up ramen, still in my work uniform from the dental office where I was a receptionist, when Emma's name lit up my screen. "Sarah, hi. So I wanted to talk to you about something, about the wedding party." My stomach dropped. 28 years of being a sister had taught me that tone. It was the same one she'd used when she'd crashed my car junior year, when she'd lost the necklace Grandma left me, when she'd needed to borrow money she'd never pay back. I've been thinking a lot about this, and talking with Marcus and Astrid, and, well, the thing is, the wedding party needs to be really cohesive, visually cohesive. "Okay." I tucked the phone against my shoulder, turning off the stove. "And you know I love you, Sarah. You're my sister." But she took a breath. "The other bridesmaids are all between 5'7" and 5'9", and you're 5'4", and they're all size 2 or 4, and you're not. And the photos." You're removing me as maid of honor because I'm too short and fat?" The words came out sharp as broken glass. "Don't say it like that. It's not. It's about the aesthetic, the visual flow. Astrid says that in outdoor lighting, with the particular green we've chosen, having different body types creates shadows that—" "Emma." I cut her off. "Are you removing me from the wedding party?" A pause. Then, quieter. "Actually, Sarah, we've been looking at the guest list too. It's getting really expensive and we have to make some cuts, and since you're not in the wedding party, it seems weird to—" "You're uninviting me from your wedding." Not a question, a statement of fact, heavy as a stone. "It's not like that. It's just, Marcus's family has certain expectations. His parents' friends, their business associates, their particular people. And you're wonderful, Sarah, but you're not." "Not what, Emma? Not rich? Not polished? Not good enough for your new life?" "You're twisting my words." "I'm clarifying them." Another pause. I could hear her breathing, could picture her in Marcus's loft with its perfect lighting, probably looking at her perfect ring, planning her perfect day that no longer had space for her imperfect sister. "But," she added brightly, as if offering consolation, "I still really need your help with things. You're so good at organizing, and you promised to help with the costs. And actually, would you mind making the wedding cake? You make the best cakes, and the quotes we're getting are insane." I hung up. The phone rang immediately, Emma's name flashing. I let it go to voicemail. Then came the texts. "You're being dramatic." "This is my day. You said you'd support me no matter what." "The $5,000 you promised. We're counting on that." Don't ruin this for me like you ruin everything by making it about you." That last one made me laugh, bitter as black coffee. "Me, making things about myself. Me, who'd given up Northwestern, who'd given up architecture, who'd given up every dream I'd ever had so she could have hers. I blocked her number. The family group chat exploded 20 minutes later. Mom, first. Sarah, what's this about you refusing to help with Emma's wedding? Then cousins, aunts, even my uncle in Florida who never talked to anyone. Family supports family. Don't be selfish. It's one day. Think of your sister's happiness. I typed out a dozen responses, deleted them all. Finally sent. I'm respecting Emma's decision to exclude me from her special day. I wish her the best. Then I did something I'd never done before. I put myself first. The travel website glowed on my laptop screen. Bali. I'd always wanted to go to Bali back when I thought I'd be an architect studying traditional Indonesian structures. The wedding was in 3 weeks. A 10-day trip, leaving the morning of the wedding, cost less than the bridesmaid dress Emma had expected me to buy. I booked it without hesitation. Then I called my phone provider and changed my number, deactivated my social media, sent a professional email to work requesting my accumulated vacation days. At the bank, I removed Emma from the joint account we'd shared since she was 18. I'd opened it to help her build credit, but it had become her personal emergency fund, one she dipped into whenever Marcus's money couldn't cover her wants fast enough. The balance was $5,237, my wedding gift to her, she'd said. I transferred every penny to my personal account. Then I went home and started packing. Not just for Bali, but for a different life. One where my sacrifices were appreciated, where my love wasn't measured by my dress size, where being a good sister meant more than being a good photo opportunity. I found the old Northwestern acceptance letter while packing, yellow and soft at the creases. 28 wasn't too old to start over. 28 was exactly the right age to stop living for someone else and start living for yourself. 3 weeks later, as my plane lifted off from O'Hare at 6 a.m., I turned off my phone without checking it. Somewhere across the city, Emma would be waking up on her wedding day. Astrid would be arriving with the timeline. The photographers would be setting up their equipment. And slowly, very slowly, people would start to realize that I wasn't just missing. I was gone. The thing about being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who handles everything behind the scenes, is that people don't realize how much you do until you stop doing it. They don't see the foundation until it cracks. As the plane climbed higher and Chicago became a grid of lights below, I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile exactly. It was the smile of someone who'd finally learned that setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm only leaves you in ashes. Emma wanted a perfect wedding without her imperfect sister. She was about to learn that perfection is harder to achieve when the person holding everything together decides to let go. The morning of Emma's wedding arrived in Bali with a sunrise that painted the sky in shades of peach and gold. I was already awake, sitting on my villa's balcony with a cup of Balinese coffee, when my new phone, purchased at the airport with a local SIM card, buzzed with the time, 6 a.m. Back in Chicago, Emma would just be waking up, probably to Astrid's perfectly timed knock, ready to begin transforming her into the bride she'd dreamed of becoming. At 6:47 a.m. Chicago time, I was stepping into a traditional Balinese spa when the first domino fell. The florist, a temperamental artist named Jerome, who Emma had begged to book, arrived at Magnolia Gardens to find the loading dock locked. The security code had been changed the week before, and Sarah Mitchell was listed as the primary contact. Jerome called the number on file. My old number, now disconnected. He waited exactly 10 minutes before packing his van with $15,000 worth of peonies and garden roses and driving away, muttering about unprofessional clients. Astrid discovered the missing flowers at 7:15 a.m. when she arrived for setup. Her calls to Jerome went straight to voicemail. He'd blocked the number after Emma had sent him 17 inspiration photos the night before, each one contradicting the last. Panic set in like a sudden frost. By 8 a.m., when I was deep in a coconut milk bath treatment, the makeup artist had become the second casualty. Turns out, the deposit check had bounced. The account it was drawn from, our old joint account, no longer existed. The makeup artist, who'd already been irritated by Emma's demands for natural glam, but also full coverage but also no makeup, decided she'd rather spend her Saturday at brunch. She sent a terse text to the number on file, again, my disconnected phone, and turned off her notifications. Emma's cousin Melissa found her at 8:30 a.m., sitting in her childhood bedroom in her silk robe, staring at her phone as message after message flooded in. No flowers, no makeup artist. The hairstylist was asking for the final payment, cash only, after the makeup artist warned her. The venue coordinator needed the final headcount and seating chart, which I'd been finalizing. The caterer had questions about dietary restrictions I'd been tracking. The DJ couldn't find the playlist I'd been curating. "Where the hell is Sarah?" Emma's voice cracked, mascara from the night before smudging under her eyes. "Nobody can reach her," Melissa said carefully. "Her phone's disconnected. She's not at her apartment. Her work said she took vacation time." The full weight of my absence hit Emma like a physical blow. She'd never asked how I coordinated vendors while working full-time, never wondered who kept the spreadsheets, who remembered that Marcus's aunt was deathly allergic to shellfish, who knew which uncle couldn't sit next to which cousin because of a 20-year-old feud about a property line. At 9 a.m., while I was learning to make traditional offerings from a Balinese grandmother who didn't speak English but somehow understood everything, the venue coordinator arrived at the bridal suite. Mrs. Chen, Marcus's mother, had questions. Many questions. Why were there no flowers? Why was the bride not in makeup? Why did the seating chart have Marcus's Harvard roommate at the same table as his ex-girlfriend's sister? Emma tried to explain, but the words tangled. "My sister, she was handling..." "But she's not. We had a disagreement." "Your sister?" Mrs. Chen's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. "The one who's not invited to the wedding?" The silence that followed was deafening. Melissa later told me you could actually see the moment Mrs. Chen's opinion of Emma shifted, like watching ice crack across a pond. By 10 a.m., the calls had started in earnest. 37 missed calls on the emergency phone Astrid had finally thought to check, the one listed as the backup contact for everything. Emma's voice progressed from angry to desperate to broken across the voicemails. "Sarah, this isn't funny anymore. Call me back." "I know you're upset, but this is my wedding day. Please." "Sarah, everything's falling apart. The flowers didn't come. Michelle didn't show up. Please, I need you." "I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry for what I said. Just please come help me." "Sarah, Mom is crying. Marcus's parents are furious. Please." The last one, recorded at 10:47 a.m. "I was wrong. I was so wrong. You're my sister, and I treated you like you didn't matter. But you do matter. You matter more than the perfect photos or the right aesthetic or any of it. Please, Sarah. I need my sister." At 11 a.m., while I was floating in the Indian Ocean, salt water washing away years of accumulated sacrifice, Cousin Derek posted in the family group chat, "Does anyone else think it's fucked up that Sarah paid for half this wedding but wasn't invited?" The floodgates opened. Aunt Patricia, "She what?" Uncle Ray, "Emma told us Sarah refused to participate." Cousin Michael, "No, Sarah's been planning everything for months. I saw her vendor spreadsheets." Mom, finally, "Emma, what did you do?" The truth unraveled like a cheap sweater. Other relatives started sharing what they'd observed. How I'd been at every vendor meeting but wasn't in any of the wedding party photos. How I'd made the cake tasting samples but wasn't on the guest list. How my name was on contracts but not on invitations. Marcus found Emma at 11:30 a.m., surrounded by the wreckage of her perfect day. Her makeupless face was blotchy from crying, her hair still in the ratty bun from the night before. The photographer had arrived to capture getting ready shots and found chaos instead. "My parents want to know what's going on," he said carefully. "The guests are arriving in 2 hours and there are no flowers, no music setup, and apparently no wedding cake?" "Sarah was making the cake," Emma whispered. "She makes amazing cakes. She made my birthday cakes every year since I was 5, even when we couldn't afford, when things were tight." Marcus sat beside her, designer suit incongruous against her childhood butterfly wallpaper. "The sister you uninvited? I thought she was embarrassing." The words came out raw. "She shops at Target. She cuts her own hair. She drives a 15-year-old Honda. Your friends would have judged." "My friends?" Marcus's voice was dangerously quiet. "Or you." At noon, while I was having lunch at a beachside warung eating the best nasi goreng of my life, Astrid made the executive decision to salvage what she could. She sent assistants to every grocery store in a 5-mile radius to buy whatever flowers they had. She called in favors for a backup makeup artist who could arrive in an hour. She convinced the DJ to play from Spotify Premium. But some things couldn't be fixed. The cake, a 5-tier creation I'd spent 3 days designing and had planned to work on for the entire week before the wedding, didn't exist. The detailed seating chart that carefully navigated family dynamics was gone. The vendor payment tracking sheet that showed who had been paid and who hadn't vanished with my laptop. At 1 p.m., guests began arriving at Magnolia Gardens to find harried staff throwing together centerpieces from grocery store bouquets. The ceremony space, which should have been a garden paradise of peonies and roses, looked like a high school prom decorated on a crash budget. The wedding photographer, an artist who charged $10,000 for her services, pulled Astrid aside. "This isn't what I was contracted for. The aesthetic is completely off. This will damage my portfolio." Emma heard this from the bridal suite window. Her perfect, curated, magazine-worthy wedding had become the kind of event people would whisper about for all the wrong reasons. At 1:30 p.m., Mom found Emma trying to do her own makeup with shaking hands. "Where's Sarah?" "I uninvited her." Emma's voice was hollow. "I told her she was too short, too fat, too poor for my perfect wedding." Mom's face went through a series of expressions: shock, anger, disappointment, and finally, a terrible understanding. "That girl gave up everything for you." "I know. She gave up Northwestern. Did you know that? She had a full scholarship to study architecture. She gave it up to take care of you when I couldn't." Emma's hands stilled. "She never told me about Northwestern." "She never told you a lot of things. Like how she worked double shifts every Christmas season to buy you the gifts from Santa. Or how she sold plasma twice a week to pay for your senior trip. Or how she's still paying off the loan she took for your college housing because you needed to live in the right neighborhood." At 2 p.m., as guests took their seats for a ceremony that was already 30 minutes late, Emma stood in her $8,000 dress, looking at herself in the mirror. She looked perfect. Astrid had worked miracles with the backup makeup artist, but all she could see were the things that were missing. The flowers Sarah would have made sure matched her exact vision. The cake Sarah would have decorated with hand-piped peonies. The sister who should have been standing beside her. Marcus knocked on the door. "Emma, my parents are asking if we should just cancel." "No." She stood spine straight. "No, I did this. I made these choices. I'll face the consequences." The ceremony was a disaster dressed in designer clothing. The grocery store flowers wilted in the afternoon sun. The music cut out twice because the Bluetooth speaker kept disconnecting. Marcus's father's expression could have frozen hell. But the worst part was the empty space where the maid of honor should have stood, a gap that seemed to grow larger with every passing moment. During the reception, held together with Astrid's sheer will and industrial strength damage control, the whispers started. "Didn't she have a sister?" I heard she uninvited her own sister. Apparently, the sister was paying for everything. No wonder it's such a mess. The cake table sat empty except for a last-minute grocery store sheet cake that said, "Congratulations" in gel icing. Emma stared at it during the father-daughter dance, remembering every birthday cake I'd ever made her. The butterfly cake when she turned 7, the 3-tier pink princess castle for her sweet 16, the sophisticated naked cake with fresh flowers for her college graduation. At 6 p.m. Chicago time, as I watched the sunset from Tana Lot Temple, my new phone rang. I'd given the number to exactly one person, my friend Nora, in case of real emergencies. "Sarah, I'm at the wedding," she whispered. "Girl, it's a complete disaster. Your cousin Derek is live tweeting the whole thing. It's already trending on wedding-shaming Reddit." I said nothing, listening to the waves crash against the ancient rocks. "Your mom wants your new number. Should I give it to her?" "No." My voice was steady. "Not yet." "When are you coming back?" "I have 6 more days in Bali. Then, I don't know. Maybe I'll stay longer. Maybe I'll go somewhere else. For the first time in my life, Nora, I have no one's schedule to consider but my own." That evening, Emma and Marcus's first dance was to a song played from someone's phone because the DJ had given up trying to make the speaker system work. The photographer left early, refunding half her fee and asking for her name to be removed from any credits. The guests cleared out before 9, leaving the newlyweds in a nearly empty venue that should have been filled with dancing until midnight. Marcus's parents had a brief, icy conversation with the couple before leaving, his mother's parting words, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is what happens when you prioritize appearances over family." Emma sat in the bridal suite after everyone left, still in her wedding dress, surrounded by the ruins of her perfect day. Her phone showed 184 unread messages in the family group chat, 47 missed calls from various relatives, and one text from Marcus. "We need to talk about today." She scrolled through her Instagram, where just weeks ago she'd been posting countdown photos with hashtags like, Emma, living golden wedding, and perfectly planned. The comment section on her last post was brutal. Someone had linked to the Reddit thread. Her carefully curated image was crumbling in real time. "At midnight in Bali, I stood on the beach, feet in the warm sand, and did something I'd been unable to do for 15 years. I thought about myself first. Not Sarah the caretaker, not Sarah the responsible one, not Sarah the family ATM, just Sarah. I thought about the Northwestern acceptance letter, now carefully packed in my suitcase, about online programs that accepted mature students, about architecture firms that valued life experience over traditional paths, about a future where my worth wasn't measured by my sacrifices." My phone buzzed with a notification from my bank. The wedding vendors were attempting to process final payments from the closed account. Each declined transaction was another reminder that Emma had never bothered to learn how her perfect wedding was actually being paid for. 2 days later, I extended my stay in Bali by another week. The day after that, I applied for 3 online architecture programs. The day after that, I got an email from a client I'd been doing freelance drafting for on the side. They wanted to offer me a full-time remote position. Back in Chicago, Emma was dealing with the aftermath. The wedding had cost $40,000, only half of which had been paid. The Chen family was mortified by the social media attention. Marcus was sleeping in the guest room of their new apartment. The family group chat had split into factions, those who thought I'd been cruel to abandon Emma on her wedding day, and those who thought Emma had gotten what she deserved. Mom had called Nora 17 times trying to get my number. Each time, Nora loyally repeated what I'd asked her to say. "Sarah will reach out when she's ready." A week into my extended stay, I sat at a beach bar with a woman named Claire, a fellow architect who'd quit her corporate job to travel the world. "Family guilt is the worst guilt," she said, after I'd told her an abbreviated version of the story. "Because it's tied to love. But here's the thing, love isn't supposed to be one-sided. It's not supposed to drain you dry." She was right. For 15 years, I'd poured myself into Emma like water into a broken cup, never noticing that nothing was coming back. I'd mistaken being needed for being loved, confused sacrifice with sisterhood. My phone rang. Nora again. "Sarah, Emma's been calling me. She says she wants to apologize. She sounds different, broken." I watched a family on the beach, parents and 2 daughters building a sandcastle together. The older daughter helped the younger one, but they were both equally covered in sand, equally laughing, equally loved. "Tell her I'll be ready to talk when I get back. But Nora, things can't go back to how they were. They can't." "I know, honey, I know." 2 weeks after the wedding, I finally turned on my old phone, which I'd brought but kept powered off. 247 missed calls, 582 text messages, 93 voicemails. I deleted them all without reading or listening. The past was the past. But I did read one email from Emma. "Sarah, I don't know if you'll ever see this. I don't know if I deserve for you to see it. I'm writing it anyway because Astrid says I need to process my accountability, which is therapy speak for admitting I'm a terrible sister. The wedding was a disaster. You probably know that. What you probably don't know is that it was the best thing that could have happened to me. Marcus and I are in counseling. His parents won't speak to me. The internet has made me a meme. Search bride uninvites sister disaster wedding if you want to laugh or cry or both. But here's what I learned. I had bought into this idea that love was conditional, that it depended on looking right and acting right and being right. I thought if I could just be perfect enough, polished enough, I'd finally be worthy. I forgot that you loved me when I was none of those things. When I was a scared 12-year-old who'd wet the bed after Dad left. When I was a teenager with acne and braces. When I was nobody's idea of perfect. You loved me through all of it, and I threw that away for an aesthetic. I've started therapy. Real therapy, not just Astrid's life coaching. The therapist asked me to write down every sacrifice you'd made for me. I'm on page 7 and still going. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect you to come back and fix this like you fixed everything else. I just wanted you to know that I finally see it. All of it. The Northwestern acceptance letter Mom told me about. The double shifts. The plasma donations. The love I took for granted because it was always there, until it wasn't. Your sister, if I can still call myself that, Emma. I read it on the beach at sunset, toes in the sand, and cried for the first time since this all started. Not sad tears, not angry tears, but something more complex. Grief for the relationship we'd had, relief for the boundaries I'd set, hope for something new and healthier. I typed back a short response. Emma, I'll be home next week. We can talk then. Really talk, not you talking and me automatically forgiving. Things will be different. They have to be. But you're still my sister. That never changed, even when everything else did. Sarah. Then I turned off the phone, ordered another coconut, and watched the sun sink into the ocean. Tomorrow, I'd start the online application for Northwestern's continuing education architecture program. Tomorrow, I'd accept that remote drafting position. Tomorrow, I'd begin building a life where love didn't require losing myself. But tonight, I sat on a beach in Bali, finally understanding that sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the opportunity to realize what they've lost. And sometimes, the best gift you can give yourself is the courage to walk away, even if it means letting everything fall apart. Emma wanted a perfect wedding. Instead, she got something more valuable. A perfect lesson in what actually matters. And I got something I'd never had before, the knowledge that I was worth more than what I could sacrifice. The waves rolled in and out, constant and sure, and I breathed in sync with them, finally free.